I like that JD Vance. Look, I'm going to say something about JD Vance right now. I think JD Vance is smart. Okay. He's a massive brown noser. He's a ginormous. But I think JD Vance is very smart. Why? Why? Notice how he's absent from the transition team conversations. Why is JD Vance not around Donald Trump as much as someone like Elon Musk is? Let's get back to, let's move away from theory or American or you know, the parallels between the rise of Nazi power, and let's get back to drama. Heated confrontation between Elon Musk and Trump advisor, Axios reports. At least these guys are still unimaginably incompetent. Did you see
the problem for Democrats?
Pod Save America? What are they saying?
Is that you have this explicitly conservative media ecosystem. And I'm not talking about Joe Rogan here or Logan Paul. I'm talking about Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and, you know, talk radio and cable news and things like that. And they exist to professionally shit on Democrats. And that's what they do all day, every day. And then you have a progressive media ecosystem with people like Chapo Trap House or Hasan Piker. And that progressive media ecosystem also exists to shit on Democrats. And so from both sides, the Democratic Party is just getting savaged and criticized.
This is untrue. I, unlike mainstream media, have openly defended the Democratic Party when they do good things, Chapo included, as a matter of fact. The example I will give you is perhaps the most important example. Joe Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal. The entire liberal media ecosystem shit on Joe Biden. On the other hand, me and Chapo Trap House defended Joe Biden for withdrawing American troop presence from Afghanistan. And we never strayed away from that because we have fucking principles. Not only that, but also I'll go so far as to say that I defended Lena Khan, Majority Report as well, myself and Majority Report as well, defended the FTC antitrust agenda and the NLRB's movement towards beefing up the American labor movement significantly more than mainstream media did. So the idea that we were shitting on the Democrats nonstop is fucking silly, okay? You should define criticism instead of saying you defend your positions. I think he's just dumb. Yeah, like this is dumb. There are people out there that are independent content creators on the progressive side of politics, on the leftist side of politics, that openly have defended the defensible aspects of the Democratic leadership, okay?
No matter what they do. And that's a real problem for Democrats, this kind of imbalance of how both ideological extremes basically make their money taking shots at Democrats.
Yeah, Felix said Joe Biden is the most progressive president in my lifetime pre-Gaza. I've said that as well because it's true. Pre-October 2023, which was a devastating month for the legacy of Joe Biden, and he deserves to be devastated. Let's just, you know, make no mistake. There was still plenty that the Democrats had, there was still plenty that the Democrats had left on the table in terms of like the underlying problems that people were experiencing, refusing to address them. Plenty of other issues within the administration that I was critical of in terms of like not whipping votes fast enough, for example, for Joe Biden's agenda. Okay. The problem is October 2023, Joe Biden, 2 days before October 7, unveiled his right-wing, okay, and the right-wing border bill that they were presenting as a gotcha, which was a idiotic move to begin with, okay? And then October 7 happened, and Joe Biden was like, I please, okay? And then it's over after that. The fuck?
We need kind of a, you know, I don't know if it's an expansion of Pod Save America until you guys are the #1 podcast in the country, but we need something to counteract that because it's not working right now.
Welcome to my life for the last 7 years.
But yeah, I digress. Let's get back to the heated confrontation between Elon Musk and Trump
Developing
advisor.
this morning, reports that new first best friend Elon Musk is starting to irritate President-elect Trump's advisors. During a dinner at Mar-a-Lago, Axios reports of a heated confrontation between Musk and Trump advisor and attorney Boris Epstein. They write, quote, at one point during what the sources described as a massive blow-up, Musk accused Epstein of leaking details of Trump's transition, including a personnel picks to the media. Epstein responded by telling Musk that he didn't know what he was talking about. This comes amid new reports that Musk is also becoming a source of infighting the Trump transition team surrounding the choice for Treasury Secretary. Musk is backing Trump transition co-chair and fellow billionaire Howard Lutnick for the job, while Trump's advisors are pushing for hedge fund CEO Scott Bessent. The billionaire not only putting his 2 or 10 cents in, but also asking his more than 200 million followers to weigh in. He posted to Twitter, quote, would be interesting to hear more people weigh in on this for real Donald Trump to consider feedback. My view, for what it's worth, is Bessent is a business as usual choice, whereas Howard Lutnick will actually enact change. Business as usual is driving America bankrupt. We need change one way or another. With us now is national political correspondent for Politico, Meredith McGraw. You know, it's pretty interesting. So Musk is in the room where it happens a lot of time, but he's also tweeting from outside the room trying to influence things.
Well, it's not just Musk who has inserted himself into the transition. It's really Trump's whole, early kitchen cabinet here, advisors, people, Mar-a-Lago members, friends that are weighing in. But Musk is spending a lot of time with Donald Trump since he got elected. He's been an ever-present person at Trump's side at his club. He's sitting in on meetings. He's traveling with him, like he did this weekend to the the UFC fight in New York City. And he is spending a lot of time with Trump. He's giving his insight and input on some of these picks, including most recently Treasury Secretary, which is one of the last really big remaining cabinet picks that Trump has yet to announce. And there's already been some infighting behind the scenes and jockeying between different potential candidates, including Howard Lutnick, who is currently co-chair of Trump's transition, hedge fund CEO Scott Bessent, and some other dark horse candidates who have now, their names have come up because of this back and forth and different people getting involved in the process. Any sign that Trump would go against Musk at this point? Have we seen an area yet where the two have disagreed, where Trump went another way? I don't know about that, but, certainly Trump is really, taking his input seriously. He is keeping him around. He is involved in a lot of these different meetings. I
like that JD Vance. Look, I'm going to say something about JD Vance right now. I think JD Vance is smart, okay? He's a massive brown noser. He's a ginormous piece of shit. But I think JD Vance is very smart. Why? Notice how he's absent from the transition team conversations. Why is JD Vance not around Donald Trump as much as someone like Elon Musk is? Why does it seem like Elon Musk has taken the role of JD Vance in the administration all of a sudden? Because he knows how Donald Trump operates. JD Vance has made a career off of shoving his nose in the assholes of narcissistic billionaires exactly like Donald Trump. That is how he has maintained a career for himself. So he knows what not to do. JD Vance is just biding his time as Donald Trump and Elon Musk inevitably despise one another. Okay? That's it. Peter Thiel's blood boy is, I'm sure, talking to Trump every now and then, but it's very clear to me that he is staying out of the limelight right now because he doesn't want to piss off boss man. He's letting Elon Musk do that job for him. That's why you're not hearing that much from JD Vance in this conversation.
Musk came with Trump to Washington, D.C. last week when Trump on the plane made the decision that he was going to appoint Matt Gaetz to his attorney general. But, other people who've been around Trump include, of course, Susie Wiles, Linda McMahon, who's also co-chairing the transition, Howard Lutnick, and then a lot of aides and advisors who are around him as well, too.
All right, Meredith McGraw from Politico, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
We have new Trump animations.
I love it.
It's dramatic. I like it, too.
It's like, speaking of the saints, it's like glorious, like coming out of heaven.
It took forever to book that orchestra.
Well, from saints to cabinet comes marching in. President-elect Donald Trump is expected to focus on filling out his economic team after making another key appointment yesterday.
Bill Malugin is live in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Ainsley, good morning to you. So obviously the economy was a huge pillar of Donald Trump's campaign this time around. So there's a lot of eagerness out there to find out who is he going to select as his Treasury Secretary. That's still up in the air right now, but a handful of names are being tossed out there for consideration. Take a look. According to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times, these are 4 of the guys they're looking at, a couple of which reportedly met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago in recent days. Kevin Warsh, former Federal Reserve Governor, Mark Rowan, a Wall Street billionaire, Howard Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, and then investor Scott Bessent. Now, Trump did make one pick yesterday for his administration. You guys just mentioned this. He named Brendan Carr as his chairman of the FCC. Carr currently serves as the senior Republican commissioner on the FCC, and in naming him, Trump said in part, quote, he will end the regulatory onslaught that has been crippling America's job creators and innovators and ensure that the FCC delivers for rural America. Now, Trump made a few picks on Saturday as well. Take a look. The biggest of them was Chris Wright. He is going to serve as Trump's energy secretary. That's a big position. It oversees the stockpiles of U.S. military nuclear weapons. William Scharf is tapped to be a White House staff secretary. And then you got Caroline Leavitt, who is tapped to be press secretary. She'll be sparring with the media in the coming years. She's 27 years old. That makes her the youngest press secretary ever. As for Trump's other picks, Democrats have been throwing cold water.
Megaphonics asks, why is he putting Pete Hegseth in these positions if he's going with more competent weirdos for these other positions? And the reason is simple. First of all, I just want to say I'm sad that this is confirmation that Alex Jones will not be Trump's press secretary. But also, the reason for Pete Hegseth is because if Donald Trump wants to use the military to violate the American Constitution and to violate pre-existing American laws, that position requires a loyalist more than a competent administrator. Pete Hegseth is a psycho. He is infinitely more likely to fulfill Donald Trump's wishes of using the American military on U.S. soil to engage in mass deportations. That's it. That's also the reason why, and this is like not as frequently reported on for some reason, they're also gearing towards a new appointment structure, or at least like an outside former general board that will determine whether or not certain appointments are eligible for general positions. Like they're looking to change the entirety of the DOD to ensure loyalty at every step. That's the goal here. They want to utilize the military to do whatever the they want to do. And in that situation, you need loyalists at the top.
Water on some of them. Take a listen.
Is this the very best that America has to offer for a moment like this with so many challenges that we confront? Of course not. America deserves better.
A Republican senator who votes to confirm Matt Gaetz or Robert Kennedy or Tulsi Gabbard will be remembered by history as somebody who completely gave up their responsibility to Donald Trump.
Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, it was interesting. Just a short time ago this morning, the hosts of MSNBC's Morning Joe program announced that they privately met face-to-face with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Friday. They said it was their first meeting with him in 7 years, and that while they disagree with him on a variety of topics, they agreed to reopen lines of communication, saying they don't want to just talk about Donald Trump, they want to start talking to him again. We'll send it back to you.
If that came, we're just hearing that too, Bill. That is probably the most magnanimous thing any individual in America has done in a long time.
They called him every name under the sun.
For 3 years, they called him fascist, Hitler. Every day, at every panel, there was nobody even to say, ever since Harold Ford left that building, there was not one person saying anything nice about Trump. And for him to take that, what is it, breakfast?
It just shows you, though, that he does want you know, to smooth things over. Maybe he is going to unite our country. And like you said earlier, everyone's doing the dances out on the...
Right. Hey, Bill, when Rachel Maddow shows up at Mar-a-Lago, can we make that a Fox News alert?
Well, if we can get a camera down there, we'll show it to you guys live.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Well,
all right.
Well, the president continues to fill out his cabinet. And I know like there's a lot of high profile one like Secretary of State and National Security Advisor who's coming up a little bit later. Keep your eye on this. It's the FCC chair and a senior Republican on the FCC. He's got a great resume. First nominated back in 2017. He's going to focus on censorship. Is focused on not censoring, but censorship, especially on the social media platforms. And what I think is so significant about this, we already have the exposure thanks to Elon Musk buying Twitter.
Yeah. Their first order of business is going to be getting pro-Palestinian voices deported and ensuring that pro-Palestinian voices are also silenced on every social media platform. Alarmist grifter much? You're right. I'm an alarmist grifter and not someone who is currently the recipient of a coordinated silencing campaign that has literally gotten congresspersons to engage with the platform that I'm on.
Now there's going to be a focus, and all the focus is going to be on Google, on Facebook, and the other behemoths, and Snapchat, all the behemoths that are rising, have been risen and so dominant, as well as their status as a journalistic entity. Are they going to have to give a balanced perspective when they do? Are they going to have immunity from prosecution and lawsuits when they defame people?
Well, he sent a letter to Apple, Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet, all of the CEOs, and he's warning them for what he believes is censorship and what he's seen in the past. He said Americans have lived through the unprecedented surge in censorship. Your companies played significant roles in this improper conduct.
Right. And keep in mind, it's only over the last couple of years where the FCC has had some purview over social media. In addition to essentially doing battle with social media companies to try to make sure that it is a free and open place for people of all political voices to express themselves. Keep in mind, he's also going to be involved in television, which is, between radio and television, two of the core jobs of the FCC. And essentially, there have been a number of Republicans who, over the last number of years, have said that the TV networks have gotten way too liberal. They've got to be back more in the middle and at least give people on the right a chance.
Maybe that's why Mika and Joe went.
You never know.
Self-preservation?
Maybe so.
Yeah. They're like, if you don't start actively saying like awful things about trans people, we will ban you. I'm like, what do you mean? Megyn Kelly's message to Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski: go fuck yourselves with dishonest jokes of fellow journalists. What an absurd farce that was. Which one was insincere? He's Hitler, or he's going to speak truth to power and find a way to speaking to working with Donald Trump? Which one was a lie?
We also let him know that we will continue.
Ironic, because Megyn Kelly herself did this exact same grift.
To speak truth to power and push back hard when called for.
Oh, please.
As we have with all presidents.
Don't be mistaken. We're not here to defend or normalize Donald Trump. We're here to report on him.
I searched for a way to respond appropriately, and I called on my 10 years as a litigator in addition to my now 20 as a journalist, and I think I found the perfect phrase: go fuck yourselves. Go.
Oh, Glenn Greenwald. God damn. His fucking right-wing pivot is just always gross to see. Oh.
Fuck yourselves, you dishonest jokes of faux journalists. What an absurd farce that was, Glenn. Which one was insincere? He's Hitler? Or now we're going to speak truth to power and find a way of speaking to and working with Donald Trump? Which one was a lie?
As for us, we also let him know that we will continue.
Once again, very funny to have Megyn Kelly say this when she also, said similar things about Trump.
Yeah, but I think it's also interesting to see that when it comes to what happened at SNL, when SNL put Kamala Harris on and didn't put Trump on, what they did is they put so much heat on NBC. They said, what can we do for you? Yeah. And Trump said, and they said, we're going to offer you a spot on NASCAR. And he said, yes.
Well, this is the guy who put the heat on him.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Blasted NBC.
So it shows you they reacted, and, and now he's got more power.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit, and Bill Maloogian touched on this. We thought by now we would know who the new Treasury Secretary is, who's going to sign the dollar bill. We thought it was going to be either Howard Lutnick or Scott Bessent. Both of them have been on this program. But then, now there are two new names. Kevin Warsh, who has been on the Federal Reserve, and in fact, Trump wanted him to be the new Powell, but Powell wound up with the job, and that he was regretful about that. Mark Rowan, a billionaire at Apollo Global. And the backstory is, according to the New York Times, that apparently Howard Lutnick, screen left, who's co-chairing the transition, apparently he's getting on Trump's nerves. He's hanging around too much. And the people who talked to the Times said he's manipulating the transition to help himself. They said it's like a knife fight between those two screen left, with Howard being the aggressive. So now, rather than pick one of those two, they're adding two more candidates.
Well, Scott was on with Brian. He came on our show last week, and Brian interviewed him. And what's interesting is that screen right, Howard Lutnick, who's CEO at Cantor Fitzgerald, he lost his brother actually in 9/11, and he is the one in charge of the transition team. Mm-hmm. And he and Linda McMahon, and they've been working on the transition team since, I think it was it August or was it September? We reported that the day after Trump won. But for a while, they've been working on this transition team. And so he was interviewing Scott Bessent, and then I think he just said, you know what, I might want the job, right?
Went right to the president, and Scott feels as though he was a little bit double-crossed. Obviously he was. You're interviewing me, screening me, finding out my pluses and minuses, and go, I'm better. So I think Trump's in the middle of it. He's going to expand it. I also heard Robert Lighthizer could be somebody else, a dark horse, who Robert Lighthizer has this rare thing. He was saluted consistently by Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and President Trump. He was unbelievable with the trade deals he pulled off. Everyone focuses on China, but he did a ton of them, including redoing USMCA. So that's somebody to keep in mind, too. So he'll be named shortly. Also, interesting, Ben Carson's name's coming up again. And what is he going to do? Is he going to be HUD again? And I don't think so.
Well, I think he said he wasn't going to. Yeah. He wasn't going to be a part of the cabinet.
Well, no.
Didn't he say that?
He put out on Twitter that he will not be Surgeon General.
Surgeon General. That's
but he is apparently going to be speaking to the former and future presidents shortly about how he can help. The interesting thing about Howard Lutnick is, and this is one of the core things that Trump ran on, tariffs. Howard is 100% behind some sort of tariff movement.
Both of them are.
Howard, you think Howard? I thought he was late to that party. I thought he was more traditional.
When he was here about 3 weeks ago, we talked a lot about tariffs, and he is completely behind it.
And I was reading that both of them are for Trump's tariffs, trade tariff policies, and Bessent even said tariffs are a means to finally stand up for Americans.
It's leverage. You go up, hey, unless you come to the table, 100% tariffs on this. And they're all going to focus on China, which I think could get Democrats and Republicans both together on that.
And Lutnick said, for my whole life, I was a fiscal conservative, social liberal. The Democratic Party moved away from me. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Well, Trump's going to talk to the two new candidates this week. Maybe by Friday, we'll know who the guy is who's going to sign the money. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley.
We also need to ask Liz Miller what she thinks about all this. The newly minted Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, expected to lob a shattering blow at federal bureaucracy and redundancies. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy both tapped as co-leaders. Listen to this.
Over $500 billion that's spent every year right now was not even authorized by Congress in the first place. They can't even tell you where it goes. We've talked a big game for 40 years about cutting the federal government, about reducing the scope of the federal government. Politicians haven't been able to do it. And so Elon and I, we're not politicians. We're businessmen. We're coming at it from the outside.
Mr. Wonderful. Kevin O'Leary is the chairman of O'Leary Ventures, and he joins us now. So, Kevin, back in 2010, the Simpson-Bowles Commission proved that it's not hard to find waste, fraud, and abuse in places to cut spending. What's hard is getting Congress to go through with it. Is that going to be any different this time around?
Yes, it will be different. What Bowles didn't have at that time was the megaphone Elon Musk has. You got to remember, politicians have to raise money. These days, they do it using social media. Now, what Elon has, that people keep forgetting, because they say, well, he doesn't have a legislative mandate here. And I say, oh, he's got better than that. He's got X. So what happens is you're in some state somewhere and you own a project to nothing and you're spending $2 billion. He just will shame you out. He'll start naming to all of your voters exactly what you've done wrong and what you're not doing to fix it. And I love the...
Considering the objectively anti-science slant that the megaphone carriers have taken alongside Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're not going to go after old-ass, like, corrupt projects within the public-private partnership that exists. And there are many such examples of this. I am, after all, living in California, which is one of the #1 states where this happens with regular frequency. They are instead going to complain about scientists spending money on silly shit that turns out not to be silly at all.
The concept of just squeezing heads to stop waste, because all he has to do is turn on the machine. Now, it's going to be very contentious. I've said this multiple times about this mandate. The power he has is not to be underestimated, because if you can get to the voter of that governor or that senator that's wasting money in his eyes, and he can make a good case on X, you're going to cause a lot of damage in that constituency. And I love this idea because it's a negotiation. That's what it is. If you don't fix this, I'm going to call you out.
Yeah, the $44 billion he spent on X might seem like a bargain in the long run if he gets to leverage it like that. Here's a breakdown of federal spending, just so that folks at home know where their tax dollars are going. Health care, 25%, Social Security, 20 to 25%, defense, 13 to 15%, safety net programs, 10%, interest on the national debt, 8 to 10%. The way it breaks down is 61% of spending is mandatory, 13% is on debt service, 26% is discretionary, which really will be the target of DOGE. And that is a small piece of the pie to try to wring $2 trillion out of, Kevin.
I don't know. I think healthcare could be another place of savings. We haven't really used any technology there yet. We haven't really digitized medical records. We really haven't brought a mandate of AI into that. I think we could save a lot.
Oh, my God. We have to bring a mandate into an AI mandate into healthcare. Oh my God, we are so fucking cooked. Oh dude, it's so Jover. The American project is so done, bro. It is so incredibly done. Yeah, we should cut some of that Medicare. We should cut some of that Medicare spending, dude. That's a good area of improvement. Fucking demon.
A lot of money. The U.S. has one of the worst IRR returns on healthcare spending. When you can compare it to some of the European countries like Switzerland or England or France, they do a much better job. But they share the...
I wonder why. Bro, that's crazy. Was shit this crazy back in 2016? No. Because in 2016, Donald Trump didn't even know he was going to fucking become president. So the chaos of his transition was somewhat beneficial. This time he's been in that position. He knows what to do. He knows what not to do. It's so frustrating that Republicans routinely point to the same exact problems that we address and we point to on this broadcast. And then their advocacy is to cripple it further.
The records on a much more ubiquitous basis that we do. We're always concerned about, privacy, but I think we could fix that too. But I like looking at everything. I don't see any reason why these two can't just release the hounds and go nuts. Everybody's interested to find out what they're going to see, and I'd like to hear it myself because maybe it's a means test on Social Security. We have to fix this because the deficit's getting a little big right now, and the bond market's starting to get a little uneasy in the 10-year. I worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Social Security is something that might need to be looked at, but Simpson Bowles said, let's look at that, and Republicans in Congress said, nope, not going to touch that. So Elon Musk is having no end of fun with all of this. America, his PAC, produced this tweet saying, quote, the Pentagon just failed its 7th audit in a row. The nation's largest government agency is unable to fully account for its budget of over $824 billion. They don't even know where billions of taxpayers' money is going. Efficiency is coming, to which Musk retweeted with a comment, sounds like a job for DOGE. I mean, he really looks like he's looking forward to getting into the numbers here.
I rest my case, Your Honor. Here he goes. He's just going to keep on these guys, hitting him every day to 1 billion people that are willing to listen, and the head squeezing begins. I love head squeezing. This is fantastic. They're going to think he's going to go away. No, he won't. He'll just keep going and going and going and going, and no one's going to stop him. He owns the network. We've never had anything quite like this, and I absolutely love it. This is terrific.
All right. Well, we'll see if they can wring that money out of the federal budget. It'll be something to watch. Kevin, great to catch up with you. Thank you, sir.
Well, you won't believe this. MSNBC Morning Joe co-host and vicious Donald Trump critics revealed this morning that they met with President-elect Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Friday morning. They did this after conceding that voters overwhelmingly had made their choice.
We were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
So why wouldn't you meet with Donald Trump? I'm thinking really hard. Well, maybe here's why. These are your own words.
The retweeting of neo-Nazi videos, Charlottesville. I mean, I could go on and on. What he said about majority black countries. That is tearing more at the fabric of America than attacks on the Twin Towers did. We rebuilt from that. We became stronger because of that. But this seems to me a far graver threat to the idea of America.
If Republicans continue this line of thinking, if they continue their support for Donald Trump, they needn't fool themselves. A second Trump administration would destroy the Department of Justice, would destroy the FBI.
This is not a reach. I could go back and talk about.
Remember what I told you? When liberals capitulate the right-wing framing, or just like capitulate the right-wingers in general, all Republicans have to do is go, look at how hypocritical these fucking idiots are. And they're right. They are right. You cannot consistently say Donald Trump is a fucking fascist and then turn around and be like, and we're friends with that fascist again. You either, A, don't believe he was a fascist at all and just lied to your audience, which is what the argument Republicans make, or B, the argument I make, you actually think that he is a threat to American democracy. You just don't want him to be a threat to you. You don't have a problem with the fascism.
Nazi Germany, and I do it without any concerns whatsoever. And if people can't start drawing the parallels, well, you're just stupid, or you have your head in the sand, or you're one of them. When you look at a Republican nominee, a potential Republican nominee that's talking about terminating the Constitution, he said, terminate the Constitution, arrest political opponents using the Justice Department, assassinate generals that weren't sufficiently politically loyal to him, saying that he was going to take the FCC and bring it in to the White House, and he would decide what networks were on and what networks were not on.
Lisa, I unfortunately saw that last one in real time. He literally said Donald Trump would assassinate generals and use SEAL Team 6. And now you're going to go meet with him? Sorry, you're both phonies.
Haley, I can't get over this story, right? I don't think any of us can. It's like, how does this call go, right? Like, oh, hey, Don. Okay, so I'm sorry I called you a Nazi for years and like Hitler. But you want to grab coffee, maybe lunch, you know, like
at your house.
Yeah. Like how does it? And it's like funny because it's so ridiculous and it's so shameless and it's so debasing and so disgusting on their part. But they also created this environment where Donald Trump almost got killed. Yeah. Right. And even back in October, Mika Brzezinski said that the Madison Square Garden was a white nationalist Nazi type rally. And so they're the ones that created that environment. And so it is good to see that MSNBC's ratings are down, and that's why they're doing this. Hopefully they can eat some humble pie, maybe do some self-reflection. and realize that they have led to a lot of the division in this country and an environment that potentially got Donald Trump killed.
You know, Mika Brzezinski went on The View and basically took over the show. It was like the Mika Brzezinski show that day. Well, now Sunny Hostin is very angry. Watch.
Uh-oh. I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring.
Yo, I think Sunny is actively getting radicalized. I'm not even kidding. Like, every time I see a clip, she's just like surrounded by some of the most annoying assholes and is like consistently a voice for reason on the panel. It's not even a joke. Every time I hear The View, it's like annoying, nonsensical centrist bullshit, annoying, nonsensical right-wing bullshit, vague generalizations, aesthetically posturing towards progress, crying, chirping, old ladies, whatever. And then Sunny will just like pop the fuck off and be like, you know, we must not rely on the magnanimous nature of capital owners because they will never give us a crumb of power that they hold for themselves, you know? Revolution now, revolution tomorrow. You have nothing to lose but your chains. I'm like, where did this come from? Why are you saying these things? It's crazy.
To be able to speak truth and to be able to cover a story. So maybe they're not journalists in the true sense. Maybe they're saying that they're opinion journalists.
I mean, here, she just said maybe Mika's not a journalist. You think?
Well, I mean, make MSNBC great again.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Look, the ratings are no joke. Yeah. And networks can think of it as being cyclical. So this cycle started last Wednesday morning after the election, and they're feeling it now. But I just don't understand where they are going to go forward and not admit that they lied. Because if they really thought he was a fascist, a Nazi, and he was getting at Trump supporters with those comments about MSNBC or MSG, the Madison Square Garden.
No, I'm not going to lie. It's just like, it's worse. I think they just don't care. I think they don't care about Trump's fascism. That's it. Like, I think that they were, like, I think that they genuinely want to be insulated from the harms that Trump's fascism will inevitably cause American society. They know where society's going and they want in on it. They want in on the action. They don't want to be fucking harmed in the process. That's what I think, truly, 100%. Trump loves this shit, by the way. He will 100% demonstrate humility and grace. False humility and false grace. His entire life has been desperately seeking out the approval of dipshits like this. They were friends with Donald Trump. They were originally friends. Donald Trump has said horrible things about them. Horrible things about Mika Brzezinski. Horrible things about Joe Scarborough. After these assholes were so friendly with him. I'm telling you right now. Notice how they're not talking about how this makes Trump a hypocrite? No, first of all, Trump is God. He can't be hypocritical. Okay? And number two, the easiest answer to that is, what do you mean? He's the president. He's going to unite the country. And this is him uniting the country. Trump says media is vital to making America great again, vows to work with a fair, free, and open press. Oh my God. Yeah. What the fuck is this? Since rabbits cannot bark or meow, they may nip to communicate. This communication may be telling you to put them down or even pet them more. It's a way to get your attention, and it usually works. They may nudge or dig at you first. And if that does not get the desired effect, the nip is next. Thanks, extra fruit jam. No glaze, but the level of pushback you receive for telling the truth is shocking to me, considering how few there are fighting for the left perspective to have space to be heard. I would have lost my mind had it not been for you and few others on this platform. The reality is too brutal to face and remain unscathed, and I hate that I have to stand back and watch it unfold. I mean, you don't have to stand back. That's why I say organize. As everyone knows, I have thousands of criticisms of Trump, but at the Young Turks, we also give credit where credit is due, and have done that from day one. There's one thing Trump is excellent at, letting bygones be bygones. He has done that, from Morning Joe to Lindsey Graham. By the way, the same Democrats who would get mad at us for saying Trump's criminal justice reform bill was pretty good, and he never said bloodbath in a physical sense, and he was heroic after the shooting, etc., are the ones scurrying to get meetings with him and kiss his ring now. Shaky Gurga. There is no reason to hand it to Donald Trump in this instance. He's just literally flexing his power. He's getting people to kiss the ring. People that he once was friends with. Trump does not let bygones be bygones. He's just always wanted to get the favor of these liberal elites. That's where a lot of his resentment against the bicoastal elites come from. It's repackaged in a way that is more appropriate for like the average American to care about. But that's where his like anger and resentment comes from. That like liberal elites have always thought of him of too too crass, too rude. They never really welcomed him into the old money circles that he wanted to be in.
Crowd, calling supporters Nazis and so on and so forth. Look, they have to admit they lied before they can go forth. Like, I'll never believe another word that they say. And by the way, that's more MSNBC, those clips we showed, than I've seen in years. I mean, that was a lot of material. I don't, you know, I try not to have that much of it in my system. I think I might be allergic to it.
That's good for your mental health, so that's probably a wise decision.
I'm sure they're nice people, but they lied.
John, you know, the fact that Trump took this meeting, Brooke Singman at Fox News Digital reached